And Pauline's going to introduce part 2 and what's to come. So, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone. As you can see, I was born a poor black boy. Okay, under his content creator named SATIS, Adam has prepared an edit for us, and as an interlude piece to kick off the second part of tonight's feature, What is a Woman? He has used the excellent work of content creator and female activist, the deprogrammer. As a former trans activist, the deprogrammer's insights into the connections between transgender ideology, paedophilia, transhumanism are invaluable. This is not an easy watch. If you are still in touch with humanity, you wouldn't be here if you weren't, so this will disturb, feel uncomfortable, and may even evoke rage, because we're going to talk about children. In our over-civilized, over-socialized society, we are encouraged to behave and be nice, and not feel, own, or use our rage. So instead, with tonight's theme of asking what is a woman, I am calling on the wisdom of a great woman and asking her what she can teach us about rage. Clarissa Pinkola Estes is a Jungian psychoanalyst and Mexican cantadora, and that is a keeper of stories and myths. She wrote a book about wild women as endangered species called Women Who Run with the Wolves. So I thought I would share a brief passage she wrote about righteous rage. Righteous rage. To turn the other cheek, that is, to remain silent in the face of injustice and mistreatment, has to be weighed very carefully. It is one thing to use passive resistance as a political tool, as Gandhi taught masses of people to do. But it is quite another matter when women are encouraged or forced to be silent in order to survive an impossible situation of corrupt and unjust power. In the family, in the community, or in this case, in our world. Then women are amputated from the wild nature, and their silence is not serenity, but an erroneous defense against being harmed. It is a mistake for others to think that just because a woman is silent, it always means she approves of life as it is. There are times when it becomes imperative to release a rage that shakes the skies. There is a time. Even though these times are very rare, they are definitely a time to let loose all the firepower one has. It has to be in response to a serious offence. The offence has to be big and against the soul or the spirit. All other reasonable avenues for change have to be attempted first. If these fail, then we have to choose the right time. This is definitely a right time for full-bore rage. When women pay attention to their instinctual self, like the man in the following tale, they know when it is time, instinctually. They know and they act, and it is right, right as rain. The withered trees. This is the tale. There was a soul whose very bad temper had cost him more wasted time and loss of good friends than any other element in his life. He approached an old wise man in rags and asked, "How can I ever bring the demon of rage under control?" The old man instructed the younger man to post himself at a parched oasis far off into the desert, and to sit there among all the withered trees, and to draw up the brackish water for any traveller who might venture there. And the man, trying to overcome his rage, rode out to the desert to the place of the withered trees. For months, garbed in robes and burnous, against the flying sand, he drew the sour water and gave it to all who approached. Years passed and he suffered no more fits of temper. One day, a dark rider came to the dead oasis and gave a haughty glance down at the man who offered him the water from a bowl. The rider scoffed at the clouded water, refused it, and began to ride on. The man offering water was immediately enraged, so much so he was blinded by it. And seizing the rider down from his camel, he killed him on the spot. Hola! He was immediately aggrieved. He was aggrieved. A little, that he had been so consumed by such a rage. And look at what had become of it. Suddenly up rode another rider at great speed. The rider looked down upon the face of the dead man and exclaimed, "Thank God! You killed the man that was on his way to murder the king!" And at that moment, the cloudy water at the oasis turned clear and sweet, and the withered trees blushed green and burst into joyous bloom. We understand this tale symbolically. It is not a tale about killing people, so please don't miss it. It is a teaching about not unleashing anger indiscriminately, but at the right time. The tale begins when a man learns to give out water. Water is life, even under drought circumstances. To give out life is an innate impulse in most women. They are very good at it most of the time. However, there is also a time for the gust from the gut, a time for righteous anger, rightful rage. So rather than trying to behave and not feel our rage, or rather than using it to burn down every living thing in a 100-mile radius, Portland, Oregon comes to mind. It is better to first ask rage to take a seat with us, have some tea, talk a while, so that we can find out what summoned this visitor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of our children and our children's children, will you please get angry for? It is the right time. The Trans-Industrial Complex by SATIS.
The agenda to normalize the concept of trans kids and events like Drag Queen Storytime are part of a larger war being waged to blur the lines of the differences between gender, sex, and sexuality. These blurred lines are fueling erasure of sex-based laws that protect females and the explosion of the acceptance and defense of practices of child sexualization targeting younger and younger children. When adult males take on female personas, use female names, call themselves she and her, dress up in hypersexualized and feminized clothing with exaggerated makeup and wigs, and then go and perform and read to children, they are sending a very confusing message about who and what women and girls are.
I'm a girl.
This message is especially damaging to young girls, attacking their sense of self-esteem and worth, and creating feelings of anxiety about their bodies and their behaviors.
Drag performers are clowns.
Gender identity propaganda teaches children that clothes, makeup, toys, and feelings are determining factors of what makes a woman a girl, and that a boy or man can magically become a girl or woman through the intervention of puberty blockers, hormones, surgeries, and makeup, or simply by putting on some lingerie and announcing he is a woman because he claims to feel like one. This agenda promotes dissociation from the reality of living in a sexed body.
My name is Ella and I'm 7 years old and I'm transgender. I realized that I was a girl when I was 4.
Boys are being taught that if they play with or like girly things, they may actually be girls.
About 18 months old, she was gender nonconforming. She never liked boy things, boy toys. She just always wanted things that were designated girl.
While girls are being taught that they may actually be boys if they reject the limiting cage of artificially constructed forms of femininity.
I think I'm gonna take some medicine so I can kind of like transform into a boy, get surgery.
Me having boobs has nothing to do if I'm a woman or not. Today, I happen to be a guy. So what?
If I can sing about like being male and like my experience of being male, then it can really help.
To people that don't understand gender fluid, 1 minute you're male, then it's female. Get it?
I'm a girl and I have a penis.
What would you do if your 8-year-old son told you he wanted to be a girl?
These are not organic phenomena. We know that laws and social norms are being aggressively attacked and perverted in an attempt to cultivate within the public mind, and especially in the minds of children, that being a woman is an identity or costume.
What happens when your son becomes your daughter?
That's fine. That being a woman is something that can occur separately from being a biological female.
Female or male, gay or straight, pink or blue. We were taught to see these as binary. Now we're realizing it's more like a kaleidoscope. When you throw in gender, it gets even more colorful.
By 3 or 4, most kids identify with a gender, and it doesn't always match the sex they were assigned at birth.
How do you feel about having a penis?
Grumpy.
Grumpy? What do you wish would happen?
Just magically a vagina comes.
Yeah, that would be so nice.
It's wrong having a penis and you're a girl.
It's wrong to have a penis if you're a girl? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, huh? It's kind of like a birth defect. Okay, let me see this
It is
one.
a birth defect.
Mm-hmm. Let me see this one.
On the one hand, trans activists claim that gender is fluid and can change. On the other hand, they promote the idea that children who don't conform to repressive sex role stereotypes may be transgender and should seek out methods of pharmaceutical intervention referred to as treatments, like puberty blockers, testosterone and estrogen, and invasive surgeries on healthy body tissue.
Chris was born female and named Julia. Chris never went through female puberty. At the age of 12, he was given drugs to block it. Chris now takes the hormone testosterone, which has put his body through the puberty of a boy.
For thousands of years, war has been waged on our bodies, attempting to transform us into resources and raw materials in tandem with the rise of capitalism and imperialist and colonial projects. When it comes to biological sex, there are only two.
Gender is not a biological reality. Sex is a biological reality. Like I said, gender describes the social expectations of behavior based on a person's sex. So women, female people, are expected to be feminine. We're expected to sit tight, look pretty. Men are expected to be strong and never cry. That's gender.
Meet the gender unicorn.
Are you a boy or a girl? Bitch, no, I'm a unicorn.
I felt like I was a girl because I liked the color pink and I liked girls' clothes and how they wore their hair and stuff.
I'm a fucking woman. Fucking respect that. Don't call me a man.
It is a touchy subject, and of course it's going to be when it comes to youth.
Catalina Zambrano is the Gender Spectrum Coordinator for the Central Valley Pride Center. Zambrano says she uses the Gender Unicorn graph for educational purposes for her job. The graphic, which can be found on the website for Trans Student Educational Resources, is meant to educate people about gender identity.
You know, I see myself as all genders.
And a person's gender identity may change over their lifetime.
Gender identity is basically what you just know that you truly are, because you can just feel it.
So apparently my gender confuses people, and I think that's exactly what I want to do. So, yes, I'm male and female.
There aren't only boys and girls. T stands for trans or transgender.
Ooh, that's a cool new word.
Not all people identify with their assigned gender.
Oh, so the doctors are wrong sometimes?
Yes, Teddy. Sometimes doctors don't assign the right genders. When a person does not identify with the gender they're assigned when they're born, they are trans or transgender.
Lord Bertrand Russell wrote in his 1951 book, The Impact of Science on Society, quote, "Physiology and psychology afford fields for scientific technique which still await development. Two great men, Pavlov and Freud, have laid the foundation. I think the subject which will be of most importance politically is mass psychology. Its importance has been enormously increased by the growth of modern methods of propaganda. It may be hoped that in time anybody will be able to persuade anybody of anything if he can catch the patient young and is provided by the state with money and equipment." The social psychologists of the future will have a number of classes of school children to whom they will try different methods of producing an unshakable conviction that snow is black.
There aren't a lot of kid drag queens. They're considered inappropriate, but like inappropriate just means that you look good. I'm 8 years old, get it right.
Trans activism is increasingly being used as a vehicle to promote the sexualization of children.
It's 2018. There's gonna be drag kids in the world. And I'm one of them. You can express yourself however you want, and there's no boundaries to what you do. There's no boundaries to what you do. It's okay to do drag at a young age. Yeah! Do my boogie. Boom! You're an icon, Desmond. Makeup makes me feel beautiful. When I saw the first episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1, I saw these queens and they were so amazing that I decided that I would take my mom's clothes, shoes, towels, wrap them around
allowed myself to make pretend. I loved it. And then from then on, I started going to drag shows. Now don't get all upset about that.
Desmond is being pushed across major mainstream American media networks that are supposedly dedicated to reporting news. Interviews with the 11-year-old repeat a pattern which includes celebration of the child's parents as wonderful and accepting, ascribing adult-like agency and level of comprehension to a child, highlighting that Desmond is allegedly gay and came out when he was born, and condemnation of all those who want to protect him, who are dismissed and labeled as haters.
Desmond, you're one of the youngest and first drag queen/kids, and I've heard...
And your parents, we saw your parents in the piece that we did. Your parents are so supportive of you, but they've encouraged you to stay and be who you are. So how has that inspired you to be open? How has that inspired you to be open about dressing in drag?
They support me by letting me do what I want to do and letting me dress up and letting me play with makeup.
It's a tough world out there, and not everyone's accepting of things, and some people have criticized you. What do you say to them?
It's fine.
Well, we're all excited.
This is blatant child abuse. This is the exploitation and hypersexualization of a highly vulnerable autistic child. Those who oppose the attempt to normalize and glamorize pedophilia in its many forms are being demonized and dismissed as so-called haters. The target of the criticism and critiques is not Desmond himself, but the adults who surround the small child who are grooming him for this role, which includes the parents, but also the media outlets themselves who promote this agenda.
Loves to dress up and work the runway in drag with dramatic makeup, but only if his homework is done. That's because Desmond is just 10 years old, but he's already a social media star, and he says he wants to use his platform to inspire other kids to love and accept themselves. Sunday in the park with 10-year-old Desmond Napolis. This is one of his favorite playgrounds. You've done lots of interviews lately.
Yeah.
How come?
I don't know. I guess it's because I'm so famous and such an inspiration to so many people.
An inspiration to so many people. You've heard of drag queens. Well, Desmond is a self-described drag kid. When this Brooklyn 5th grader isn't in school, he's doing photo shoots and runway shows. He's already been profiled in Vogue. We met up with Desmond and his parents at the Fluid Project, a gender-neutral retail store in New York City. In contrast to their son, Wendy and Andrew Napolis say they couldn't be more mainstream.
What does mainstream mean when the media that we consume is owned by just 6 corporations? Our perceptions are being altered, our thoughts and actions are being influenced, and we are being programmed. Who is creating the media? Who is deciding what will and won't get airtime? What will get positive feedback? And whose voices will be silenced from the conversation? Who exactly is pushing this propaganda, and for what ultimate purposes?
They say Desmond was born to have an audience.
When they handed him to me, looks like he's posing. Okay, what a hand. When they handed him to me, looks like he's posing. Okay, what a hand.
So when did he start dressing up? Do you remember?
As soon as he could grab things.
Remember?
As soon as he could grab things.
Remember?
As soon as he could grab things.
When Desmond was a toddler, Wendy says he'd sit in her lap as she watched the show RuPaul's Drag Race about adult drag queens, and he was mesmerized. What made you go, ooh, I want to do that? Ooh, I want to do that?
I think it was how beautiful they were and how amazing they looked. So I was like, I want to look amazing too.
When Desmond was a toddler, Wendy says he'd sit in her lap as she watched the show RuPaul's Drag Race about adult drag queens, and he was mesmerized. Desmond, are you transgender?
No.
Do you identify as gay, though?
Yeah.
When did you come out?
Yeah.
When did you come out?
Ever since I was born? Ever since I was born?
There are people who would say to that, he's only 10. Wait a while.
Wait for what?
Yeah.
Wait for what?
Mozart first touched a piano when he was 3.
Is it too young for a 10-year-old to be marching down a runway in a sexualized way? In a sexualized way?
I don't see him sexualized at all. I think that if people see sex in that, then there's definitely an issue on their end. Because I just see a child who is enjoying themselves. I mean, I know ballerinas wear less than he does, and no one says that's inappropriate.
Do this because you hope that inspires other kids to come out?
And many other people.
As you said, he has a big following on social media.
Wendy Nopolis runs an Instagram account with over 126,000 followers where she posts photos of 11-year-old Desmond.
What do people say?
You know what, it's interesting. He gets a lot of positive reaction, especially from other children who say, you know, thank you for being a leader and showing me that I can be myself. There is also, I have to say, a lot of negative reaction, even this morning when I posted a video on my Twitter page, a lot of negatives saying, how could the parents do this? But you heard me ask them a lot of questions about the choices that they're making. You get the sense that this kid has a mind for what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He has business plans already. You know, he wants to start something called House of Amazing, which would be an online site for other kids who are into drag to get together in social media without adults involved. That's one of his visions as well. You know, he wants to start something called House of Amazing without adults involved. That's one of his visions as well.
All right, Kate, thank you very much.
I would be watching RuPaul's Drag Race. I've always been a fan of RuPaul. I think he's hilarious. And he would be playing with his toys and he would just want to tune in.
Violet Chachki. I'm numb from the waist down, tuck included. I really could die, bitch. I'm giving you realness.
She's got a smaller waist than Barbie.
Oh, don't sneeze, honey. It's all gonna pop.
Amazing.
Work.
And I don't think he understood at first what the show was about, but to him, like, the drag queens were these, like, characters, like Disney characters, or like princesses to him.
Y'all, it's very dry. It's almost kind of like your vagina.
And like, they were just over the top, really colorful, and kids are attracted to that kind of thing.
Don't mess it up or you won't get no go-go juice.
Go-Go Juice, part Mountain Dew, part Red Bull. 2 drinks combined have about the same caffeine as 2 cups of coffee.
Here, drink, go. Don't mess it up or you won't get no go-go juice.
I immediately turned into pageant mom.
Lil Pound Cake enjoys riding dirty and being a straight-up mother dick pig. Long story short, the season of the fish smells like trout.
By now, every alarm bell in your mind, body, and spirit should be ringing.
Feels amazing that there's so many other drag kids out there expressing themselves. Anyone can do drag, even a dog. Woof woof. There's no boundaries to what you do. They support me by letting me do what I want to do. And drag kids are going to take over the world.
So what do you think? Why are we being programmed to accept child abuse and ignore the signs of grooming? Are drag kids going to take over the world, or are we going to collectively say no more?